beautiful Thursday night to lovely Burnet Park. Last year at this time we were in the arena undercover because it was pouring and raining, and yet because people love Tip Hill so much, we still got a great crowd even in the pouring rain. So for those of you who have not been to these meetings before, let me just tell you normally how we approach it. I have a couple of introductory remarks, and then I will open it up to questions, and I'll take questions. We do one question a person. All of the department heads are here in the back. Chief Fowler is on his way. And so those of you, we will stick around, so if you don't feel comfortable asking a question in public, or if you have something very specific that you want to ask about, you can do it after sort of the public session is over. So with that, let me just launch right into it. We have had, as I'm sure most of you know here, unfortunately a crime spree in Tip Hill in the past month. And in fact, we had 5 burglaries in the 24-hour period between the Tuesday and Wednesday. The chief and I talk about these issues on a weekly basis, and he has weekly staff meetings. As a consequence of that spree, we have put reinforcements and resources into this area to start to tamp down on that. There is no rhyme or reason as to how these things happen, just at certain times, certain neighborhoods at different times get spikes. And what we do is move our resources to where they are in order to tamp them down and to stop that. Last year we had a very good year. Our crime rates were down across the city, and particularly in Tip Hill. Let me talk about a couple of specific things that I know that you're all also concerned about. Obviously, we had the arson issue in the Tip Hill neighborhood, and we expended lots of resources, both police and fire, when we suspected that it was arson, and then when we confirmed that it was arson, to make sure that we caught the arsonist, which we have done. The arsonist is now behind bars. He does not have a history of starting fires, and yet he has confessed to starting a number of these fires. So we believe that the arson issue has been investigated and solved, or resolved, if you will. The head shop that recently opened, that a number of people have contacted me about, we are also aware of. We are looking into that shop, as we have done with all of the lots of other shops across the city. There have been people who have asked me to shut it down. We can't shut head shops down simply because of the kind of clientele that they attract or what we suspect is going on. We are investigating it. If there is a legal reason to shut the head shop down, we will do that. But we can't do that based on what we know right now, but I want to make you all aware that we are investigating that. We know that there are people who believe that there's suspicious activity going on around that, and as they say in the police department, they are all over it. So those are the major public safety issues that we've seen in Tip Hill this summer in particular. So now let me move on to some other issues about Tip Hill. We are told that the developer, Hayner Hoyt, for the St. Pat's Church facility expects to close on financing within the next 2 weeks. And if that happens, they plan on moving forward with renovating those facilities this year and having that online. We have a number of other houses that we have been working with our development partners on in the neighborhoods to renovate and make into single-family houses. So we have been doing that as well. Just down the hill from here, Fowler High School is under major renovation. It is set to have students in there and people working this fall for the first time. So we are a little bit behind in terms of making those goals, but we are being assured that we're going to be able to make that. So that is the first of the 4 projects of the Joint School Construction Board that will be up and underway and fully renovated. And we're moving forward at the same time with Dr. Weeks, the Institute for Technology, and H.W. Smith. All are at different points in where they are in terms of having school children starting in the fall there. So that's what we're doing in terms of education and the Joint School Construction Board. Obviously, you can see our pools are open, and this summer in particular has been a very hot summer, and we've seen great usage for our pools and our park facilities, and on a night like tonight, why wouldn't you be using Burnet Park to enjoy all that the city has to offer? So those are some general areas that I've been asked by people as I've been out and about Tip Hill. So let me now open it up to questions that people have on specific issues. John, do you have a question? You have a neighbor who has a question. And we also had coolers was also robbed as well. Again, these are I say freak occurrences because we have all sorts of high-skilled computers that kind of track crime, and we use predictive analysis. And if you use that, we are, about where we should be in terms of that. But we had a spike here in Tip Hill that is inexplicable. So for the month of July, we had 16 burglaries. 5 of them occurred between Tuesday and Wednesday. So, and some of the burglaries were half and half. There were a number of sheds that were burglarized. There were homes that were burglarized. About half of them were no forced entry, meaning people didn't lock things up, and half of them were forced entry. So if there is something to take away from this meeting, it is make sure that you lock your stuff, and lock your doors, and lock your sheds. Some of these are called crimes of opportunity. Doesn't make it any less disgraceful and any more or less irritating or wrong. But again, the more steps that you can take to protect your property, the less that you're going to have people who are going to see it as crimes of opportunity. The good news about these situations is that we find the people who are committing these burglaries. They are not going unsolved. And we found there was a house that was also broken into where copper piping was stolen. We apprehended the suspects or alleged suspects who did that as well. So while we have not solved the poolers burglary yet, we have video on that, and we have every expectation that we will be solving that as well. Yes, sir.
It seems to me like anybody who wants to dig a big hole in the street here cuts a hole in the street and never patches it up. They just put some black dirt in there and they walk away from it. If you want a good example, you go to the intersection of Salisbury and Avery, where they put this water pipe in. The stuff is that thick on the road. It's unbelievable.
Well, I do have to say that you are both the victims and the beneficiaries of the Onondaga County Save the Rain program. So there's been a lot of infrastructure that's been put in and around here, from hydrants to water pipes and water mains.
That's not what I'm concerned about. They never fix it after they...
I understand. What I was going to say is, so what is happening is we have so much development, infrastructure work, permits being pulled, that we don't have as much time to get back and fix it the way that we should. So we're asking for your help. When you see something that you don't think has been done appropriately, or you think has been sitting there too long, please contact my office and let me know. Sometimes it takes time because you've got to let things settle. Sometimes you have to have state inspectors come in. Sometimes you have to have city inspectors come in. So it will always take longer than you suspect, but I agree with you that we have to do a better job of patching and moving forward.
When you're done here, just take a ride and look at that.
I will, sir. And I'm sure, based on your comment, I won't be the only one from the city who's going to look at it.
Thank you.
However, if you know where a problem spot is down the hill here, you slow down, then you don't have a big issue.
You do. You should slow down. But, look, part of the issue is we are very fortunate. And I say this when people complain to me about you can't get from one side of downtown to the other side of downtown because there is so much construction going on. And I say, remember when there wasn't construction going on. We should be thankful that there is, because construction means better infrastructure, it means jobs, and it means our city's moving forward. Part of what we have forgotten is that it also means that it's a hassle. and that we've got to pay attention to doing it correctly. But again, the infrastructure that is being put in cooperatively through the County Executive Save the Rain program and with the city needs to have the federal government come and look at it, needs to have the state government come and look at it, needs the county to come and look at it, needs the city, needs private engineers. So there are a whole bunch of people who are coming to make sure that the right kind of pipe was put in, that it's settling correctly. So it's not as simple as you might say, as you might think, to just put a pipe in, put in the fill, put the tarvia over, and get to your next project that day. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, is that the same situation that's going on with that pole that the DPW has put up on Coleridge? It's been like that for about a year as you're coming up Coleridge. I know they're working on it now to make it 2 ways again, but that sawhorse or whatever you want to call it has been there for, I'm quite sure, a year.
It is the same. It is the same situation. That's again, you can see down at Fowler, and then coming up through Burnet Park. There's lots and lots of work that's going on to connect those water mains and that infrastructure with up here. That also, there were new hydrants put in back here that goes along with the reservoir, because we've had to do a lot of infrastructure work at the reservoir because of new rules and regulations that the federal government has put in. So you guys are in the middle of all of this work that is going on.
Are we using a lower grade of tarvia or something? Is that a possible oil or is this problem?
No, we're using the same grade. The question is the condition of our roads and how we're repaving them and how we're moving forward, and potholes, which are a constant problem for us. Now, barring this year's winter, which was incredibly mild, shockingly mild, we caught a break this year, but the previous winter was extraordinarily challenging. And the pothole situation was completely exacerbated by the winter and what we've done. So we have looked into, in fact, we bought new technology to try to fill those potholes as we move forward, and following what other cities in similar climates have done. But what is happening is that probably 85% of the money that we use for street reconstruction is federal and state Department of Transportation money. And they have dramatically cut it back. So where we were once doing, 50 miles of road work, we're now doing 15. And we're trying to figure out a way to spread it, because in a climate like ours, with as much salt as we use, your roads just get bashed and bashed and bashed. So we are doing more with less, and part of what you're experiencing is that the roads that used to be retarred and repaved and rebuilt and reconstructed every 5 years are now going on an every 10-year cycle. And then on top of that, you add tough winters with lots of potholes that are splitting it and not being able to fill it. That's what you're experiencing. Yes, ma'am.
Roads and safety issues. I'm just curious. I've noticed, and maybe it's because we finally got some rain, thank you God, things are growing and greening out, more than they have been. There's many, many, many stop signs in Tiff Hill. Many, many four-way intersections, two-way intersections, etc. Who is in charge, or whose umbrella does it come under, to see that the tree limbs aren't blocking those stop signs? I've noticed it numerous times in the last few days, and it's like, okay, I'm guessing everything's growing, maybe part of it, but I don't know if that falls under Parks and Rec, if it falls under DPW. It's obviously trees that are in your right-of-way strip, but from half a block away or X number of houses away, you know there's a corner coming, and you don't see that stop sign until you are at that corner. So God forbid somebody else is flying, or somebody doesn't see it because they're distracted, God forbid. Somebody is really, really going to have an accident.
That is DPW's responsibility, but ultimately it's my responsibility. So if you want to send my office an email, or send me an email, or a letter, or call, or tell us as to which corners.
That I'm noticing.
Yep, and we'll go through and take care of it. We had last month the same issue in Strathmore, that there were a number of trees that grew over stop signs, and we went through and did the same thing.
Okay, very good.
Yep. Anybody else over here who has a question? We'll move.
I just wanted to thank the city for replacing the street name sign at the end of our street that was stolen, and the sign on Avery and another street down by Brillbeck's too. So thank you.
Well, we're happy to do that. And you know, we do that quite a bit. People call and say that either a sign has gone missing or some of the letters are gone off. So by all means, we have the ability in-house to do that. That's what we do. So if you see a sign that you think Bryant isn't as bright as it should be, or it doesn't look as nice as it should be, by all means, call us and let us know. And again, it's part of our regular plan to go through neighborhoods and replace signs as we see them. But depending on certain streets and wear and tear, or, you know, candidly, graffiti gets on stop signs and things like that, we'll rip them out and replace them. Questions? Yes, you have a question?
I'm just shading my eye.
I just wanted to say that I commend the police department on cameras that are working in the west side of Syracuse on Yetta Street and surrounding areas, and I think it's marvelous, and I'm glad that you're extending it to the outlining areas.
Thank you very much. We are very, very pleased with the results that we have had with police cameras starting in the near west side, and Common Council voted unanimously to expand that program, and we have been inundated with neighborhoods saying that they want cameras, so we feel it's been very successful. The cameras are being put and utilized in places where the crime statistics drive that. So the decisions are being made based on the occurrence of crimes, and that's how we're doing it. Because everybody always says that, well, I want it in my neighborhood. That's how we are starting off utilizing those crime cameras. Well, we talked about that before you arrived, about the spike in crime and how we have doubled down on our resources, and the chief has done that. Yes, ma'am. Do you have a question?
Are there any plans that you know of for the Syracuse Developmental Center? Because a large building that's empty, almost empty, is always, you know, a source for crime. And
yeah, and it's a concern of ours. The developmental center owners have fairly recently entered into bankruptcy proceedings, so we are in the process of settling our interest with that bankruptcy proceeding, and then once that is finalized, the new owners tell us that they have plans to market that and move forward with that facility. So everybody who sees that facility is really overwhelmed with the breadth of what you can offer, but it is so big that you need the right kind of developer who has the right kind of ideas. But we've been working with the soon-to-be new owners and the now owners to make sure that where you drive in, their grass is cut and cleaned, and they take it back so it doesn't look overgrown, so it doesn't look like it's ignored, thus being more of a target for bad things to happen. Yes, sir. We are in the midst of having active discussions with major nonprofits who are in the city. Now, as many of you know, only a fraction of Lemoyne is in the city. The majority of it is in the town of DeWitt, but nevertheless, as you said, when crime occurs there, a fire occurs there, they utilize our services. So we are having discussions and negotiations depending on the entities. Some of them are going in a more positive direction than the other. The important thing I think that everybody has to realize is that if a nonprofit says no to the city, we won't pay, we won't enter a service agreement, there's very little that we can do to encourage them otherwise. So this is a process of educating them and of talking about what the consequences are and the facts that they are a part of our future, and if the city goes down, you know, the future of those nonprofit institutions will also suffer as well. Mr. Schroeder? I know it was the second question, he jumped in. Go ahead. You made me break my own rule.
Well, no, what I'm asking is maybe Chief Fowler could speak to everybody about giving his input.
About the arson, you want Chief the police to talk about the arsonist, or you want him to talk about from the crime aspect? Okay.
I mean, I thought it'd be good for him.
Sure.
Sure. Throw him to the wolves. Showed for a reason.
Here you go, Chief.
What's the question?
Well, the latest, Garrison.
Yes, sir.
The latest round of burglaries, Friday today, they come up great. So I just want to know, especially the latest one, which is this 500 one.
Yes, sir.
How things are going.
Well, and unfortunately, you're accurate. The mayor's accurate that we had. She was able to get those numbers from us because we use our crime analysis center to track crime, and when there's a spike in crime or certain types of crime, then we every week I have an operations meeting. That's where everyone that's in charge of a police officer that has to put their hands on bad guys, to make it rather simple, they're all meeting in this room to identify resources that we have, and then we identify a problem, and throughout all the people in the room, we talk to them about the resources that they can lend to that particular problem. Your problem was, before we even knew we were coming into this neighborhood for this meeting, that particular problem is very, very high on my radar. Okay, so does that mean when you swing your door open in the morning that you're going to see more patrol cars up and down the street? No. In fact, the way that we're going about doing things, you'll probably see less police officers, but that doesn't mean that they're not there. Because we're looking to solve this problem. We want to catch the people that are doing this, and we want to lock them up. Just like we did with the person that was committing the arsons in the neighborhood. We knew what the problem was, and we kept trying various things until we could identify this person, lock them up. We're going to throw that same type of effort toward the burglaries in this neighborhood.
Yes, ma'am.
How come your police officers don't come down a dead-end street and check once in a while?
Let me answer that first, and then I'll give it to Chief Fowler. Because I've heard a lot of people say, you know, I never see police officers in my neighborhood. And the reality is that police officers are around when crime is happening. And they don't have, if they're driving down a dead-end street, it's going to be between, in Tip Hill in particular, when we were looking at the arsonists, it's going to be between 11 o'clock at night and 4 in the morning. We had patrol officers all over this neighborhood when we were trying to find the arsonist, because that's when we knew the arsonist was committing that crime. So unless you were out on your porch at 3 in the morning watching, and even then, you know, a car drives by, are you going to really be looking to see if it's a police car? Our resources go where the crime is. And so while I understand that everybody would like to see a police officer drive down their street or a dead-end street at 3 in the afternoon or 4 in the afternoon, the reason they're not is because crime isn't occurring there at that time. So let me specifically give it to Chief Fowler. Yes, ma'am.
I live on Lower Coleridge, directly across from the cut-through to the zoo and Burnet Park, and it's not really rocket science to figure out why the crime has spiked. There's unsupervised teenagers all the time. I actually feel that it's threatening to walk through the park during the day. I've heard other women walking their dogs being yelled at by the teenagers, and frankly, I'm scared. I don't like living here in the summer, and it's too bad because I wish that we could come together as a community and help the teenagers realize how to be good people and not litter and not yell at people and not break in. But that's what's going on. I can sit right out there on my porch and watch it happen. And I've reported it whenever it has, but there's no one there. So if there's a camera we could put there, that would be great. Because they're all coming to the pool. So.
And it's also known here from friends of mine when I say I live at Tip Hill, that Burnet Park, there are drug dealings going on all the time. So, I mean, how can that be? You know, I mean, it shouldn't be. This is what I'm hearing that from friends that don't live here. that, oh, gee, you know, that's a barbarian.
Well, we have not seen or heard, our complaints have been about burglaries. And that's where we're seeing the number spike, is burglaries.
But one is usually connected with the other, so if she's scared, she's seeing it, she's reporting it. Well, you know, I wish there would be police cars going up the street once in a while. Not 3 o'clock at night.
I understand. Yes, ma'am.
Individuals that were arrested with the robbery and the arson, do we know where do they reside? Are they from Tippville or are they imported?
Well, that's kind of a difficult question to answer. The arsonist's last known residence was on Geddes Street, but does that mean that he grew up and was raised on Geddes Street? We don't know that.
And he's been exported now.
All right, that's a good note to end. Again, nobody's going anywhere. I want to thank you all for coming, and we'll be available to talk to you one-on-one. Thank you.